Welcome to Standby Secrets. I'm Frank Hardy, 38 years in the airline industry. Captain, instructor, check airman for what's now the largest airline in the world. I've commuted, deadheaded, positive space positioned, and flown non-rev more times than I can count. I've figured out the routes that work, the ones that'll strand you, and every quirk in between. This channel is for one specific group: retired airline employees and the families and buddies traveling with them. Not leisure travelers, not points hackers. You, the people who earned this benefit and deserve to use it well. Here's the honest truth that I want to lead with. Non-rev travel has gotten more complicated. When I started in this industry, loads were more predictable. You knew your airline's rhythm. You could call someone in scheduling and get a read. Now, load factors are higher across the board. Carriers are running leaner, and with the massive number of mergers of mega carriers, US Air and American Airlines, Northwest and Delta, Continental and United, the fundamentals of the system have changed. And as the nation's workforce ages, the retiree priority pool has grown, meaning more people competing for the same open seats. That's not a reason to stop flying non-revering. The benefit is still incredible. I take it over any frequent flyer program on Earth. But it means the difference between the traveler who glides through and the one who gets stranded is preparation and strategy. That's the gap I'm here to close. I want to give you a quick reality check on 3 things that catch retirees off guard. Number 1, listing windows. A lot of retirees assume you list the way you always did as an active employee. You don't. Retiree listing windows are different, sometimes significantly, depending on your airline and your past travel portal. Get this wrong, and you're not even in the system correctly. Number 2, the priority pecking order. You know it exists, but do you know exactly where you land on it now as a retiree? Active employees, their dependents, other carriers' employees. Where do you fit relative to all of them? Understanding your position in the line before you ever get to the gate changes everything about how you plan. Number 3, route selection. Not all routes are created equal for standby. Flying from a hub to a hub on a Tuesday afternoon is a very different risk calculation than flying from a focus city to an international gateway on a Friday night in July. If you don't know which routes to avoid and which to lean into, you're gambling. We're going to fix that. Let me walk you through the core mechanics, the stuff you need internalized before any of the strategy makes sense. The listing process. When you're flying non-rev, you're not buying a ticket in the traditional sense. You're listing yourself on a flight and waiting for a seat to open. Most airlines have a portal, retirees.aa.com for my airline. This is where you list in advance. The earlier you list, generally the better your position within your priority tier, but the available seats are less accurate the further out you schedule. Timing your listing correctly relative to the flight is a skill most retirees underestimate. Load factors and how to read them. Before you list, you want to know how full the flight is. Your portal typically shows seat availability, but that number shifts constantly. Here's a rule I follow. If a flight is showing more than 80% full 2 days out, unless it's your only option, I'm looking at alternatives. That buffer between booked seats and total capacity is your window. Now, here's where most retirees get this wrong, and it cost me a weekend in Miami once. I thought I understood the priority system. I'd been flying for decades, but the system had changed, and I didn't realize how much it mattered until I was watching the gate agent close the jet bridge door with my name still on the standby list. 2 nights in an airport hotel. That's when it hit me. Knowing the system isn't optional anymore. It's survival. So let me break down the priority order. This is the thing that matters most at the gate. In a simplified version, active employees traveling on a positive space basis go first. Then everyone else in tiered proportions. This is a new procedure. It used to be active employees and their eligible dependents on standby, then retirees, then other carriers' employees. Each category was seniority-based, meaning your date of hire was the critical factor. I saw many times a teenager, maybe 15 or 16, getting on a flight when I, with a hire date before this kid was born, would be left behind. The teen was an eligible dependent of an active employee who was hired before me. Now the tiers consist of a letter-numbered pair, and aside from a very few instances, seniority is irrelevant. We've all seen the priority numbers at the boarding gate. Jones, 1A1. Olson, 1A3. Smith, 2D3. Brown, 1D3. White, 2D5. But within the various tiers, seniority may still matter. Years of service can move you up, but only if you know when and with whom it matters. Some airlines have reciprocal agreements with partner carriers that put other airlines' employees in the mix. Codeshares and alliance partners. oneworld, Star Alliance, SkyTeam, that's a whole video by itself, and trust me, it deserves one. My wife and I just flew first class Madrid to Miami on Iberia because IB treats AA employees as their own. The gate agent in Barcelona, who directed us to the Madrid flight, told us their employees always go in the highest class available. First class was wide open out of Madrid. Of course, we had to get from Barcelona to Madrid first, which was a pain, but once we did, first class on an A350 non-stop to Miami. That's not luck. That's knowing how the system works, and I'll walk you through all of it in a future video. But for now, know where you stand on whatever carrier you're trying to board. Specifically, what happens at the gate? Gate agents are working fast. By the time they're calling standby names, they're managing 20 things at once. Do not make their job harder. Have your ID ready. Know which seat you want. Window, aisle, doesn't matter. Just have a preference ready. And if you don't get on, ask politely about the next flight. They often have information that doesn't show on the app and can automatically roll you onto that flight without bothering the next agent. One more thing on this, and I'll say it plainly. Be kind to gate agents. I spent over 3 decades watching how past travelers interact with agents, and I'll tell you, the non-rev travelers who are gracious and low maintenance get the benefit of the doubt far more often than those who aren't. That's not a policy. It's human nature, and it matters. All right, let me give you the 3 mistakes I see most often. These aren't hypothetical. These are patterns I've watched play out over and over. Mistake number 1, booking hotels before you've cleared. I know it's tempting. You want to lock in accommodation. But if you commit to non-refundable hotels before your seat is confirmed, you're putting yourself in a terrible position if the flight doesn't clear. Always use refundable rates, or wait until you're physically on the plane before you call anything certain. Mistake number 2, flying on peak travel days. Thanksgiving week, Christmas, spring break, Memorial Day weekend, these are not non-rev days. Load factors on those dates can run 95% or higher for days in a row. I'm not saying it can't be done, but understand what you're walking into. Build your travel calendar around the industry calendar, not just your own. We'll do full seasonal breakdowns on this channel. Mistake number 3, not having a backup plan. This is the mindset shift that separates experienced non-rev travelers from frustrated ones. Non-rev travel is not a guarantee. It's a probability game. Every time you fly standby, you go in with a primary flight, a backup flight, and a plan C. If you don't have that before you get to the airport, you're going to have a bad day eventually. So, here's what we're building here. This channel is going to be your complete reference library for non-rev travel. We're going to go deep on route strategy. I'll give you my personal list of the best and worst routes to fly standby, broken down by season, day of week, and time of day. That video is coming very soon, and I think it's going to save a lot of you a lot of frustration. We're going to cover pass holders and buddy passes. This is one of the areas I get the most questions about, and there's a lot of anxiety around it. How to set your buddy pass traveler up for success, what they need to know, how to coach them on gate behavior. We'll cover it all. We'll do destination playbooks, Europe, Asia, The Caribbean, because flying non-rev internationally is a completely different planning exercise than domestic. Different listing systems, different loads, different risk profiles. I'll walk you through my approach to each region. We'll even talk about the time a captain for an international airline put my non-employee wife on the jump seat when the flight was full, completely legal in his country. And we'll do it in a way that's practical. No fluff, no theory, just the stuff that actually helps you get on the plane. If you're retired from the airline industry, or you've got a family member who is, subscribe and hit the bell. Every video I put out is specifically for you. This is the channel I wish had existed when I retired.